As Fran mentioned, got a presentation here on the future management agents for the Centre Cumbernauld. I'll start off by giving some background as to basically how we arrived at this position, a few slides covering what we're currently doing, and then some slides looking towards the future and what we're hoping to achieve over the forthcoming years at Cumbernauld. Okay. Okay, so the background for this really dates back a few years here. Some of the documents listed here are all publicly available on the council website if you're looking for further information, but it really dates back to sort of around 2019, 2020 when the council published draft town visions for each of its town centre. And these were really looking at the long-term plans for each of our town centres, and the draft town vision for Cumbernauld looked at the redevelopment of the town centre. From that, we then entered into discussions with the then owners of the Centre Cumbernauld, and over a period of a couple of years, we undertook various due diligence, various surveys, assessments, valuations, and so on, to get to the position of actually acquiring the Centre Cumbernauld in June 2023 with assistance from the then Levelling Up Fund from the UK Government. We received approximately 9.22 million to facilitate the acquisition of the centre. This plan here shows what we currently own in Cumbernauld, so hopefully you can see my cursor on the screen. This is Central Way. This is the north of the Centre Cumbernauld, and the north of Central Way rather, and our ownership also extends to the south of Central Way. This part here is the Tesco, this is the existing Antonine Centre, and over here we have the former HMRC site, which has just recently been demolished, and that will be going forward for housing in the future via sanctuary housing. So I think sometimes when we talk about the centre, Cumbernauld, it's automatically assumed that it's only the north side of Central Way, but it does stretch across and cover onto the south side too. Okay, we also undertook an initial concept design, which was looking at what we were hoping to achieve in Cumbernauld Town Centre over the longer term, and this was really about the town hub. So the hub model, as far as North Lanarkshire Council are concerned, is really a building or a facility that houses all of the public services. So the idea behind the town hub in Cumbernauld is that it would house education provision, community, sport, leisure, alongside other public sector organisations such as the NHS, potentially dentists and so on, but effectively you're all located within the one building to make services more accessible and more easy for the public. We're also aware of the need to offer a sort of modern retail provision, but that would be reduced provision on what is currently there, taking into consideration the current changes that are ongoing across town centres across the whole of the UK as the retail and commercial sectors contract. Also looking at residential development, roads, access, public transport, increasing active travel and community links. If you're familiar with Cumbernauld, you'll note that in terms of pedestrian access, some parts of the town centre can be difficult to access, and also aware of the site topography. The town centre in Cumbernauld is built on a hill. Irrespective of how you approach it, you are effectively walking up a hill, and the town centre itself, if you're navigating it, you're left with a series of ramps, staircases and so on to basically access the town centre. This was the initial high-level concept design that we had for the town centre. So in the middle you here see the proposed town hub. This would be Central Way running through here. Fleming House, the old Fleming House building, was a proposed transport hub, and we had football pitches which represent the sort of education leisure provision that's required. Stuff in the white remains as is. So you have the Tesco site here, you have the Antonine Shopping Centre here, further down is the Asda, and you have St Mungo's Parish Church over here, and this residential development site is the former HMRC site that I mentioned is currently being demolished. The town hub, as I said, would contain all the public services, and that would be located right in the heart of the town centre. These buildings over here to the right hand side of the screen, they represent services that would flip into the town hub once the town hub was constructed. So here we have the doctor's surgery, we have the town hall, and we have the Trades Sports Centre. And the idea is that once the town hub is constructed, service provision would flip into the town hub, and these sites here would become development opportunity for mixed use, potentially residential, and a mixture of retail and commercial. This is the timeline for the redevelopment. The green represents the past, the blue represents current activity, and the pink represents future activity. So green, acquisition of the centre back in 2023, 2024, 25, 26 are all marked blue because these are all underway and at differing stages. So business engagement is underway. We're undertaking some transportation assessments, and we're currently engaging with various stakeholders. These are ongoing processes that will occur over the next couple of years. 2027 marks the first stage of demolition. That would be part of the centre, the first part of the demolition. 2031 to 2033 would mark the second stage of demolition. So the centre is proposed to be demolished in 2 stages, and I'll come on to that later on. This just gives a sort of brief summary of where we are in terms of that timescale I mentioned. So we've been engaging with businesses over the past, say, what, 9-10 months now, trying to understand what businesses are seeking as we move forward, get an understanding of where they see their long-term future. We're working closely with Business Gateway to see how we can assist businesses if they see themselves as staying in the town centre, or if they see themselves moving elsewhere, be that in Cumbernauld or to another location within North Lanarkshire. We're also looking at what opportunities we have for availability of premises elsewhere, and engaging with the charity and the third sector, high level of charity and third sector organisations currently in the centre. We're also faced with the issue of not everyone will engage with us. A number of the national operators will make their own plans and do their own thing, and they haven't been as willing to engage as perhaps local independent businesses who may live and work in the town centre and employ local staff. Other thing we've been doing is a programme of improvement works. Last January, the centre suffered extensive storm damage when we had successive storms over a couple of days in mid-January. We've been undertaking substantial repairs and capital investment in the centre. Although the centre is being demolished, as it's been demolished in 2 stages, we are keen to still invest in the parts of the centre that have a longer term lifespan. So the parts of the centre that will stay operational until 2031, we are currently undertaking a series of roofing, glazing repairs, and looking to overhaul and replace 2 lifts in there, as well as all the ongoing maintenance repairs that occur basically associated with a sort of management of any shopping centre. We're also keen to consult and engage with the public and ensure the public are as up to date with all the developments as possible. This is taking the form of installing window graphics on vacant shop units. We've established a website which is regularly updated. The Community Board is a local forum for community, business and public sector organisations, and we attend this on a quarterly basis to provide an update and ensure that all key stakeholders from the town centre are aware of our plans. We've recently updated some concept images to try and demonstrate to people potentially what the town hub could look like ahead. We appreciate that it's a long-term project and the town hub construction may not be starting until potentially 2033, 34, but we're also keen to try and, as I say, demonstrate what the town hub could look like. To that end, we undertook a public exhibition in August and September, and we saw this as the first stage of engagement that we will run on an ongoing basis, perhaps holding events every maybe 12 to 18 months to ensure that the community and stakeholders are all fully aware of where we are in the process and how their feedback is basically getting involved and impacting upon the design and the development as we go through this process. These are just an example of some of the window graphics that we have installed. All the window graphics have a QR code which automatically links back to the website, again ensuring that we have the consistency of information and that the public can access that information without having to rely upon word of mouth or second-hand rumours. These are some of the images that we recently updated. Again, this is to try and, to a certain extent, stimulate discussion, and when we're holding exhibitions, to try and get feedback as to what people like and dislike regarding possible the proposals going forward. So the idea is just now on the road, this would be Central Way, and on the left hand side this would be the Town Hub building. The right hand side would be also part of the Town Hub before linking into the Antonine Centre. We were conscious that when you see a lot of these high level designs, images, they're quite often showing very sunny days and always these sort of, if you like, quite fancy locations. We wanted a more realistic feel, so in this instance we got the architect to ensure that the streets were covered in puddles and rain and perhaps a bit more representative of Cumbernauld. So that's why you see the puddles and so on these images. Again, this is another image of what it could look like. Again, this would be Central Way. In this location, the Town Hub is behind us, and we're looking across to part of what also could be the Town Hub, but again, where the clock is here, that would be looking into the connection point into the existing Antonine Centre. We see the creation of a town square as potentially providing a sort of focal point for different events, and possibly being led by the community or equally being led by the council or potentially the owners of the Antonine Centre, but it's a usable space that Cumbernauld presently lacks. And the final image, this is just us looking from the entrance or exit of the Antonine across towards the hub. In the background is St Mungo's, which is one of the sort of key focal points within the town centre. And on the right hand side, we see this Enoch clock. In the feedback we've received to date, it has been apparent that the community are keen for this Enoch clock to have a fairly central and high profile presence in whatever shape or form the redevelopment of the town centre takes. If you've seen the film Gregory's Girl, that's the clock that's in film. It was originally in St Enoch Station in Glasgow, but it's been in Cumbernauld since the late 60s, and it's seen as being a key part of the town centre. Okay. Future redevelopment, what we are looking to do over the next year is assess the options for sort of temporary permanent retail and whether or not that is possible within the overall development. We have also started undertaking the traffic transportation studies to try and understand how traffic currently flows within the town centre, and to then assess how traffic potentially could flow based upon our future development. We are looking to acquire some remaining properties, and we're in discussion with the owners of these. There are a few properties out with the town centre that we would like to acquire because they form part of the wider redevelopment zone. And we're also about to undertake procurement of consultants to develop both the master plan and also commence discussions on the demolition. As I mentioned, we're also doing further public engagement. We see the engagement as being a key component to basically ensure the community is fully aware of what's going on and that they continue with the buy-in that they've demonstrated to date. So just going back to the timeline, we are, if you like, roughly in these blue parts here. We've outlined the future. I suppose the point is now is to basically see what we are doing with this tender. So we are now looking to tender for the long-term management of the centre. Initially, when we acquired the centre, the asset and property management navigated across for an initial 12-month period, which continued through until June 2024. As we began the procurement process for the long-term management, we extended the existing agreement through until September 2025, at which point it will end, and the new managing agent will commence from the 1st of October 2025. As part of the process, we undertook a PIN around about, I think it was July this year, and that was to try and gauge market interest in the long-term position and get a better understanding of how the market was going to react. And as I mentioned at the bottom there, the procurement process for the for the new asset managing and property manager is now underway. As I mentioned, the centre is being run down in 2 phases. So stage 1 demolition will commence in 2027 and stage 2 demolition will commence at some point between 2031 and 2033. The centre will remain operational with a reducing floor area throughout. At some point in late 2026, early 2027, one part of the centre will close off. The remaining part will continue to operate. The managing agent will need to be in position from the 1st of October and the contract will continue until the centre is fully vacant and passed across to the demolition contractors. As I mentioned, we do not at the current time have a fixed timescale for the stage 2 demolition. It could be 2031 or it could be 2033. That will become clearer when we get a better understanding of what's required regarding the demolition. Our initial studies from at a high level again on the demolition suggested that stage 1 will be a far more straightforward process than stage 2 demolition. Stage 2 demolition involves the original mega structure of Cumbernauld Town Centre that was built in the late 60s. Alongside the management of the centre, we will continue to develop our plans for the regeneration of Cumbernauld Town Centre as a whole. And these here is just listing some of the key tasks for the long-term management. So just to give it a sort of flavour of what we are seeking the managing agent to do. And it's basically a continuation of what would be required to manage a shopping centre with some I suppose differences, because we are not always seeking to ensure full occupation, as parts of the centre need to become empty to facilitate demolition. So managing new and existing leases, including the rent reviews, rent collection, arrears debt recovery, the day-to-day management of the centre, including security and cleaning, marketing available units, but with an awareness that as we look to clear certain parts of the centre, some units we will no longer wish to market because we will require vacant possession to facilitate demolition. Assisting with the relocation of existing tenants within the centre. So that may be where we have a vacant unit in the part of the centre that's staying open, enabling tenants to move from the part that's scheduled to be demolished to the part that's staying in operation until 2031. Preparing financial statements, preparing monthly management reports so that we, the council, understand how the centre is operating, and attending any relevant meetings, again just to ensure that we understand how the centre is operating, what is required in terms of maintenance, what's required in terms of repairs, and any other action we require to take. I know that is quite a sort of quick overview of what is required, but that is sort of where we are in terms of what the council plans are and what we are seeking from the management agent going forward. And I'm happy to try and answer any questions as best as possible.